We know from research that we've done through different player organisations that the first 2 years are quite crucial in terms of players adapting to life off the pitch or whatever sport they're in. And we know that for those first 2 years, they have sometimes loss of identity. There's an adjustment to life away from being very fit, training, the camaraderie of dressing rooms, etc. So it is a very difficult period. That 2 years is crucial.
I know so many have always said to me that more than anything, they missed the crack in the dressing room.
Yeah.
I mean, you had to finish through injury, quite young, weren't you? Still when that happened. Did you find it difficult?
Very difficult. I mean, what you do miss. I mean, what you see when you're actually so talking about football, when you see players working on a Saturday or Monday night, or as it is now, every day of the week it seems. But what you don't see is all the stuff that goes behind that to actually be fit to play those games. But it's all the fun you have, it's getting up, going into the dressing room, meeting your mates. It is a wonderful atmosphere. It doesn't really transfer well, and some of the stories are a bit schoolboyish, but it is a wonderful part of being a professional athlete, and you do miss that.
Carlisle is a classic case, isn't it? I mean, a highly intelligent young man, had a decent enough career, yet he's had no end of problems, which I know you personally dealt with. Yes,
I mean, Clark has been very good in actually bringing things out into the open. He talks very well about it. It's a difficult thing for him to talk about, but he's very brave in that way, as a lot of other sports people have done. And I think the more it's out there, you get away from that stigma of mental health issues. And it is very difficult for the individual and their families. But the more we can talk about it, the more it's out in the open, the more you can actually put things in place to try and deal with it.
And of course, you've widened your remit here, haven't you, Brendon? Because you not only deal with footballers, you sit on groups that discuss the whole range of sportsmen. I mean, is it something more specific to football, or is it much more general than we might think?
No, it doesn't discriminate. It's not just about sports people. It's all across the board. We have some terrible stories we hear in the news. People who need treatment, who aren't getting the necessary treatment, and there's all sorts of things happen. Very high-profile case going back many years. Think of Frank Bruno. All those sort of things that are going on. Very public arrest that he had, but he's now making his way back with the support of his family or some members of his family. And I'd say the more it's out there, the better it is to deal with. Now, I think when you listen to people who've been through and are still going through that process, it really does touch you, and you then feel you almost need to do something about it. So we've come together as a group of player associations, and we signed with the Sport and Recreation Alliance, a mental health charter for sport and recreation, supported by Nick Clegg when he was in post, and Norman Lamb, who was a health minister. And lots of governing bodies and player associations are doing very, very good work in terms of educating those people, and they've got very good health professionals behind it. So it's getting better. It's getting better.
You see, part of the problem is that it's not just sport, is it? I mean, society still has this stigma about mental health, doesn't it?
I think that's one of the big hurdles to overcome. And as I say, the more it's out there, the more people with high profiles, they talk about it. I think it becomes easier for others to deal with it and for them to seek the necessary help. So it is very important. Government needs to do a lot more. You hear these terrible stories about people who are out there who shouldn't be out there, who should be receiving the necessary treatment. It's an illness. There should be no stigma attached to it, but it is something that does carry that sort of, how can you be... In terms of sports people, they think you're in a lot of money, so why should you be worried about, why should you have all these problems? Well, as I say, it doesn't discriminate.
You said that when you stopped playing for the first couple of years, you found it difficult. Did you border on anything that would have approached depression or anything like that, do you think?
No, I don't believe so. I don't think so. No. I mean, I found it difficult, but it took me the best part of 2 years to come to the decision to retire. I had a very good family behind me, my wife in particular. And also I was being led into a second career without me knowing it was going to be my second career. I had a great mentor in Gordon Taylor. And the transition, whilst difficult, you do know, everybody knows in professional sport that it's coming to the end now, watching the Olympics, like a lot of us have. You see Jessica Ennis, Christina Garugu. I had to chuckle when she said at 32 she's too old. So I had to chuckle on that. But, everybody knows that it's for the moment, and you enjoy it for the moment. But as I say, that transition, that first 2 years can be very, very difficult. And that's where you need to have people around you who can support you, and that's what player associations do very, very well.
Do you think that some athletes and sportsmen and footballers, perhaps more than most, they worry what people will say if they find out that they are going through some sort of mental situation? Well,
there is that. I mean, as I mentioned, that loss of identity. You are known as Joe Bloggs, the football player, Joe Bloggs, the cricketer, you know, if you're a top-class athlete. So that transition needs to be managed, not just by yourself, by others around you. You know, it's amazing when you're at the top of your game, you've got lots of people around you patting you on the back, you're the best thing since sliced bread. That all sort of disappears sometimes. Not all the time, but it can do.